Thursday, February the 23rd, 2017, and this is your Barbados Today evening update. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Thanks for joining us. Now to the big story. The way is now clear for Central Bank Governor Dr. Delisle Worrell to be fired. This afternoon, the Court of Appeal dismissed the case brought by Worrell challenging the right of Minister of Finance Chris Sinclair to force him out of office. Our Fernella Wedderburn has been covering the case and files this report.
Acting Chief Justice Sandra Husbands and Justices of Appeal Andrew Burgess and Kay Goodrich today dismissed two applications made by attorney Gregory Nichols. After hearing arguments for 4 hours from Nichols and Solicitor General Jennifer Edwards QC, who represents Finance Minister Chris Sinclair, the justices dismissed an application for the injunction which was lifted by High Court Judge Randall Worrell last Friday to be reinstated. The acting Chief Justice told the two sides that the number 1 Supreme Court will give its reasons for the decision next Friday. Moments following that decision, Nichols made an application for another injunction to be put in place so his side could appeal today's decision before the Trinidad-based Caribbean Court of Justice. But that application was also denied. So after almost 2 weeks of legally fighting, an ultimatum given by Finance Minister Chris Sinclair of either demit in office or be fired, Central Bank Governor Dr. Delisle Worrell has no choice but to make his exit from the island's premier financial institution. Reporting from the Supreme Court, Fernella Wedderburn for Barbados Today.
One of the leading social and economic experts in the Caribbean is warning the government against ever going to the International Monetary Fund for any bailout. In fact, Director of the Sir Arthur Lewis Institute of Social and Economic Studies, Dr. Don Marshall, says the IMF is incapable of solving the island's underlying industrial and developmental problems.
There's not one of them that have any modicum of an understanding of what industrial policy will look like for small island economies like ours. That is a fundamental point, and I'll stand behind that. They went to school, I went to school. They read, I read. And thanks to the Barrow Grantley Adams vision, I'm here to stand and say to you today, none of them in Washington have an understanding of industrial policy and what it will look like for small island economies like ours. So I will say no to the IMF. Because the best that we can achieve by going to the IMF is finance sector-led growth, where investors will be very happy, while the bulk of the persons who are employed by the state will feel a new sense of nervousness as they watch their colleagues go home, because the burden of the austerity will fall to the people and not to the financiers and the investor class.
The ruling Democratic Labour Party has come out swinging against the National March of Disgust announced yesterday by opposition leader Mia Mottley and her anti-government sentiments. Mottley told the news conference that the March 11th mass protest, the first in a series of anti-government salvos, was aimed at getting Barbadians to understand the country could no longer bear what she called the weight of the indifference and incompetence of Prime Minister Frandell Stewart and his cabinet for another 12 months. But this morning, General Secretary of the DLP, George Pilgrim, recorded his party's full confidence in Stewart while accusing the opposition of merely creating a platform of hate and division in the country.
We believe the agenda of the Barbados Labour Party continues to be extremely corrosive. A platform of hate and division is being created in this country. Barbadians are no fools. The issues vented in the public domain are no secret. The government of Barbados prints money, full stop. Corporation taxes have declined merely in the offshore sector since 2009 by approximately $200 million per year. Transfers over the period that we entered government are only up by at least $50 million. The reality is that commercial banks are not buying government paper, which has created the shortfall. Hence, the central bank picks up the tab, therefore printing of money. But we print money to ensure the country's fabric and its people are secure. It's not the best option. Government has bills to pay.
Pilgrim also announced the launch of a campaign called Facts, which will be rolled out during the party's midterm conference at Queen's College on March the 4th. He said ministers of government will seek to share the policy journey of the party over the 9 years in office.
The principal objective of the conference is to ensure the facts are rolled out about the government's achievements and the actions taken to ensure the viability of our nation state. This conference will also allow for the party base to share and give party central needed feedback on views and thoughts. Today, I make a call to all party members to report to Queen's College for fellowship with your party on March the 4th at 9 a.m. at Queen's College. It's very important that we share this as we seek to chart a path for all Barbadians.
There's a suggestion today that the current impasse between Central Bank Governor Dr. Delisle Worrell and Minister of Finance Chris Sinclair has stemmed from a lack of good corporate governance. Senior lecturer in accounting at the University of the West Indies, Dr. Fillmore Allen, was careful in not naming anyone, but questioned the reason behind the current legal battle, saying it should not have happened in the first place. Allen also used CLICO as an example where governance could be questioned.
The same thing also goes with the current impasse that's going on in government now at this point. Yes. You have a situation where the CEO, which is the governor, right, of the institution, is also the chairman of the board. Who is he accountable to? I have been around long enough, though. As we say in Barbados, it didn't just come to town. You with me? To know that this has had to be deliberate, because other people will know. It worked well when both goals were consistent. But at the time when there is some inconsistency or disagreement, then it backfired.
Allen weighed in on the matter this morning while presenting the findings of a recent survey on corporate governance and whistleblowing practices in the Caribbean. The findings, which were made public during the annual CIBC First Caribbean UWI Breakfast Business Forum, revealed that businesses in Barbados and the rest of the region believe there are high levels of political interference, lack of law enforcement, ineffective governance, corruption and fraud in the public and the private sectors.
Now, in terms of corruption and fraud in business and government, 64.5% perceived, almost 2/3. And fraud, 72.5%. And importantly, at the bottom, government is perceived as not being serious about tackling corruption. 77.7%, more than 3/4 of the sample believe that is what is going to.
In sports now, Claudio Ranieri has been sacked as Leicester City manager just 9 months after leading the club to the greatest triumph in its 133-year history. The East Midlands side defied the odds to be crowned Premier League champions for the first time last May in what was a fairy tale season. But the club said its place in the top flight was now under threat due to results in the current campaign.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
It's the celebration of agriculture, 50 years and beyond. Come and experience this year's AgroFest exhibition at the historic Queen's Park on February 24th to 26th.
Box offices: Barbados Agricultural Society, Roberts Manufacturing Feed Store, Clear Vision Optical, Massey Stores Barbados Limited, Worthing, Sunset Crest, Oystons and Sky Mall, Massey Stores Home, Sheraton and Pierhead, Cape Shepherd Broad Street, Waterworld Pet Shop, Jordan's Complex Spikestown, Ticket Centre, Massey Supercentre Warrings. Be there.
We're back with news from the region now. President of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, Janet Korfar, is calling for the closure of the beleaguered Cornwall Regional Hospital. The Ministry of Health has been under growing pressure to deal with the noxious fumes emanating from sections of the 10-story hospital. The big story on the global front: a woman has died and a child has been left with life-threatening injuries after Storm Doris battered parts of Britain, with gale-force winds and heavy snow. The 29-year-old woman was hit by what was described as wooden debris about the size of a coffee table as she walked through Wolverhampton city centre just before midday. And that's news and sports, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. Also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We are also on Izumi Media in bus terminals or screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you, as well as Channel 99 on Flow TV and Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Have a fantastic evening.